You want to do some size comparisons?
Yes, size comparison time. Size comparison time.
Hey, what's up, you guys? ShartimusPrime here, doing another Marvel Legends toy review on Marvel Legends Hope. This is, I think, my second favorite figure of the wave. I really like this figure a lot. The paint apps on her are fantastic. I will bitch about this figure, but I do really like it a lot. I also want to give a big thanks to Rick. I forgot his YouTube username, so give it to me again, dude, and I'll put the, his link in the description right there. I got a ton of figures because this guy helped me out getting the DCPI code at Target, and just very, very grateful. Thanks a lot, man. So, yeah, send that to me, and, I'll give you a shout out for the rest of the figures that I was able to get because of you, man. So thanks again. Now this figure is badass. Like I said, I really love the paint apps and everything, but I do have my gripes. I'm not a big fan of this mold, mostly because of the ankle articulation. Now, believe it or not, this pose right here, to just get into the beginning of this video, was very difficult for me to get her in, and this is not an extravagant pose or anything at all. I mean, this is almost vanilla, you know what I mean? It's practically a vanilla pose. It's not a big, it's technically not, but it's almost a vanilla pose, and this was just very tricky to get her in. I think she's too tall for a teenage character. Like I had mentioned before, we have this Marvel Girl figure right here who's shorter and more petite that looks a lot more like a teenager, which, I don't know, I can't really say I wish they'd use this because the articulation on Hope is better than Marvel Girl here, but, if they had made some alterations like how they've been doing with the other ones, but based it off of this mold right here, that would have been cooler. Then another thing I wanted to show was, I will have to say, I think this is my absolute favorite female mold right here, which is the same as the X-Men Classics Rogue figure, but this is Domino right here, which was produced by Hasbro. So Hasbro has this mold. So I think they could do more figures, with this one, and she stands just as tall as Hope. So, and this one has a ton of articulation. I should really review this figure at some point. But she has a ton of articulation, and it just would have been, I don't know, it would be nice if they used this mold. But I do like this mold. It's very sexy. She does have a great ass, as I showed with the Black Widow figure. And she does have nice looking boobies. So, that's what makes a good female figure to me. But seriously, it's the paint apps that drive me nuts here. It really reminds me of Toy Biz. Like, looking at the cape, that was one of the first things that I noticed was, like, this detail on the cape. That is badass. I love that paint detail. She has a very, like, shiny green paint going throughout her whole body, and at the same time it looks like it has like a fade going on with it. You could see in the upper thigh, like right next to her vagina right there, it's got like a really dark green. So they used like a base plastic of dark green and then painted it over with this shiny metallic like green. You even got the paint detail right here, on the ankle parts. That looks very nice. I like the silver on the kneecap areas. Same deal going on over here with these wristbands, which are pretty loose. You could twist around. And the head sculpt is actually very nice. I think she's beautiful. There's no paint detail in the hair, which isn't really a big deal, but I do like this head sculpt. The eyes are all even and stuff. I've seen, I think, some of the Madame Mask figures that it's kind of weird. And then the yellow is very clean. I know it's very hard to paint with yellow, just from first-hand experience, so I think that's very well done. You could pop her head off pretty easily and then remove the cape and, have her, I guess, just a little bit more exposed so you could see how the paint apps work. And, I don't know, it gets like a little on the blurry side right there, but not a big deal. Overall, a little yellow smudging, but overall very clean. Very, very, very clean. It's a very sexy figure, man. I mean, that's, did you tap? I would, why not, A little on the skinny side, but still. But her articulation is a little bit to be desired, but not the worst, of course. Her head doesn't really move up and down because it's just on this ball thing, so kind of moves down a little bit, moves side to side just fine. She has this ball jointed shoulder dealie, goes up and out like that, no bicep swivel, single jointed elbow. It also rotates at the elbow, so it's like from here, it's, actually she has the same wow, I just realized that she has this ab joint right here, and so does Marvel Girl, which actually moves a lot more than this one. Plus Marvel Girl has a waist joint. Hope doesn't have a waist joint. This one does have more leg articulation. She has a pretty good solid leg joint right there, and it moves out too, so you could turn it around too. She has a thigh swivel, double joint knees. The ankle moves side to side and up and down. Now on mine, the right leg, the right foot, I kind of have a hard time moving it around. I feel like I'm going to break it. That was just like right out of the packaging too. But this one moves okay, and it moves side to side at the ankle, and she's got her little female boots. So, I do like the figure. She is hard to pose because of the lack of articulation in the ankles more than anything. If she did have ankle pivot, then she would have been a lot easier. Now, she does come with this gun right here, which we have seen before, which was released with Forge. And even though it's the same thing, I do like it a lot more than the Forge gun. I don't have an uncustomized version of Forge's gun, but I do have the handgun that Forge had. So this is the color gray that they used. Well, we can move her out of the way. This is the color gray that they used for Forge, and this is the one that they used for Hope. So I do like the one that they used for Hope a lot more. It's darker, and it's kind of weird. Like when you have it in person, it looks like it has shading on it, but it's just from the shadows, which sounds retarded, but it actually does look like it has shading on it when it really doesn't. So yeah, and like I said before, she does feel tall to me. And to give you some size comparisons really quick, here she is next to Constrictor. So Constrictor's not a particularly short dude, and I feel like the women should be a little bit smaller, especially if it's a teenage woman or teenage girl. And I don't know, I just feel like she's just the same height as Constrictor, and that's kind of weird to me. So really did wish they went with a modified Marvel Girl, but other than that, I think she's badass. Another thing I have to mention too is that her right hand is the trigger hand, and she holds the gun pretty well in this hand, but in her left hand it's quite tricky and it's a bit frustrating. So I mean, she can still do it, but it's always kind of angled off, a little bit weird. But so that's that. And you gotta show her next to Cable. There she is next to Cable. So Cable and her shouldn't be so close to height, you know what I'm saying? So, and there's that modified gun I was just talking about earlier. So I like my paint job on it, more so than this one. But yeah, alright you guys, that's my review. Hope you dig it, and I'll catch you later. Peace.
Oh, that's Shartimus. He is so awesome. But now what should I do on the internet?